There's a movie called Hundreds of Beavers. It took around 4 years to make, and it's a combination between live action, it's shot in black and white, animation. It's around 108 minutes, I believe, maybe 108, 109 minutes. It centers on this trapper who is trying to get, quote, hundreds of beavers to gain the hand of a woman he is smitten with. The problem is she is the daughter of this trading post owner, and he says, you cannot have the hand of my daughter unless you capture, kill hundreds of beavers. That is a plot of the movie, but you're wondering, 109 minutes, I was thinking maybe this could be a 60-minute movie, but no, it's actually a pretty epic film. And again, that combination between live action and animation, it's pretty inspiring to watch. I know how you feel about this, Bruce, but I have no idea what Eric thinks or thought of Hundreds of Beavers. Take it away, Eric.
There are so many beavers in this. This is what can you say about it? Remember when we saw Everything Everywhere All at Once and we all loved it? And I believe at some point we were lamenting that it's like this movie's so good. Unfortunately, it'll never win an Oscar. And then it did. And that was great. I think Hundreds of Beavers is kind of that same kind of movie. It's like this movie's so weird and so crazy and so creative and so this and that. It would be great if something like this would kind of catch on. My guess is it won't, but we've been surprised in the past before. I love the comedy in it was really silly, but some of it was pretty clever. I like how some of it kind of felt like a video game. Like if you're playing Zelda and you level up in certain ways, it was kind of doing that sort of thing. The when he's hungry and he looks at like the geese flying and the geese turn into like pretzels floating in there, it's just got a bunch of really silly stuff like that. The physical comedy is really good. Like when he's and like even the kind of weird they do these weird kind of animation sort of esque like when he's climbing the tree, his hands are going like that with the little burrs following behind him. Yeah, I mean, and this thing's like jam packed. Like it was probably 20 minutes into the movie and I felt like I've been watching it for 3 hours. That sounds like a bad thing, but I mean, that's just how many jokes and gags and all sorts of interesting stuff they just cram into that. And then so to go the full, you say 109 minutes, it's yeah, I this thing is a feat to behold and it's pretty damn good.
The lead actor is Ryland Brickson Cole Tews, and he's also the co-writer of this epic film. It's the feature directing debut of Mike Cheslik. Eric was mentioning jam-packed. This slapstick humor, obviously, it's a little bit of an ode to silent film. There's a lot of the movie that's very hardly any dialogue. There is some dialogue though. Also this is not a spoiler. Also a little bit of beaver dialogue, which is really interesting. This is and Eric was saying it is a feat. The thing is, I can't remember. I don't know many movies. Maybe It's a Mad, 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 Mad World that has so many jokes crammed into its running time. This is right up there as far as the slapstick humor and the jokes maybe every 20 seconds. Bruce.
Looney Tunes. It's live action Looney Tunes.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
Bruce.
very much so. I love this movie. Yes, Mad, 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 Mad World. This is like up there in classic status in my book. This is a movie that, like you said, it's just packed. But what it does, I think that's great. So it has a visual comedy. It has this live action cartoon aesthetic that's going on here. And also what Eric says is exactly right. There's also this kind of video game questing going on in here. But what I really appreciate, so the gags are great throughout, right? What I really appreciate is this is an awesome example. I mean, in comedy in general, I would say this is a great example of how you plant seeds for later jokes and you keep paying them off. And this movie does that in multiple ways. Like, it has jokes that are great on their own, but then they become ongoing running gags that become part of the plot. A perfect example, and I'm not going to say how it plays out, but there's a thing where he's trying to just climb a tree. He's hungry, right? It starts out with him. We didn't even say what the story was, right? He starts out, his applejack factory or whatever it is gets destroyed. So he's like the lone survivor of this.
Of his own doing.
Yeah, well, the beavers were involved too.
Oh, that's true.
So basically, he's left alone and hungry in the woods, and he is not a trapper at that point. He doesn't know how to trap, and he has to kind of fend for survival. So like the first, I don't want to say 15 or 20 minutes is him just trying to do anything to get any kind of survival. And then it goes from there and becomes kind of this giant quest. But at one point, he's trying to climb a tree and just get some eggs because he's so hungry. And he finally gets up to the eggs after all these kind of mishaps that you'd get in a cartoon. And he whistles. He's so happy. He's, woohoo, you know, I whistled. He got it. And then, of course, immediately this cartoony, like, woodpecker flies over and starts pecking him on the head, knocks him off the tree. And that little thing, him whistling, woodpecker coming, pecking on his head, becomes an ongoing joke that is used in the actual plot. And there are probably 10 or 12 things like that, where there's something that's used early on that kind of loops back around and comes back to play. So that's what I think. That's where I think you get the combination of silly, quote, dumb comedy and clever plotting built into the comedy as well. And also, it's just, like you said, it's epic. It's epic in ways that are kind of amazing. I love everything about this movie. I think it's almost, I could almost call it unique. I think there's a pull quote on one of the posters, and I can't claim this, but it's absolutely perfect. It's like Guy Madden meets Chuck Jones. And I say,
right.
yeah, it is that. And then somewhere else there's a quote from Guy Madden, and I didn't pull it, but it's amazing what Guy Madden says about this movie, and he obviously loves it too. I can't say this is bad for anybody to watch. Anybody should give this a try. Whether it will be a cup of tea, it's comedy, right? So it won't be. It's a very unique, weird thing, but I think anyone should give this a try because it is amazing.
I don't know how much this movie cost, and I'm not as expert as Eric or Bruce on this animation level tip and the mixture of live action, but this is one of the best looking movies I've seen this year, last couple of years. It's, especially with I love black and white films, with that and that silent film aesthetic to it, it's gorgeous. If they come out with some kind of Blu-ray edition, whether it's 4K or extended or even just a rote Blu-ray, I'm paying for this physical media release. It's so beautiful to look at. I'm just pretty much gobsmacked at how amazing this movie is. Also, this crew should be handed the keys to some kind of big movie and to see what they can do. I don't know how you guys feel about that. I just think just give these guys possibly a blank check, maybe a little oversight, and see what they can do with cinema, because they've already done it with whatever little means they had financially.
Yeah. Well, first of all, the look on it is beautiful, but it's like it looks cheap. Like the style of it makes it look like it's, because like the animals are obviously people in beaver costumes, the birds like obvious, like, but that's like the style of it. But then the way it's all put together and like some of the animation, like even when they animate the main guy, some of it looks like really kind of rough around the edges. But I think that's more of a style than a limitation. But yeah, to your point, it is definitely interesting to look at for sure.
Yeah, Hundreds of Beavers ratings. What, by the way, it has a nationwide rollout, so it rolls out every single week. Well, I'm going to leave the actual link on the website where you can, hopefully Hundreds of Beavers plays in your town, in your city. You can catch it on a given weekend. If not, please put this on your to watch list. This is a great gem that we discovered here over on Cinematics. The wonderful people at Middle Class Film Class are going to be reviewing Hundreds of Beavers as well. Would love to hear what they think of this movie. This is an easy 5-star film for me. Hundreds of Beavers. Eric.
6.9 beavers.
6.9 stars.
I give hundreds of them if I could, but it caps out at 6.9.
6.9. And of course, Bruce Perky.
I'm 5-star classic, and I just want to mention, I don't think we talked enough about the star, Ryland Brickson Cole Tews, I guess I'm saying the name right.
Yes.
Has to do a lot of heavy lifting in this. If that actor is not really pulling off the physical comedy and everything in this movie wouldn't work half as well. And I think there's a lot to be said for that.
Okay, yeah, there's a lot to be said for his performance. There's a lot to be said about this movie. The one thing about, I'm warning you guys, once you see Hundreds of Beavers, if you see it in the theater, that's great. It's one of those movies you're gonna have to watch it again. There's just so much stuff that's going on.
Oh,
It will. Oh, yes, Eric.
at least 30 times. Like this thing is so dense that like you can't get it all in one sitting.
Right. Look,
This is also one of those movies you could drop in on at any time. Like if you've
Yes.
seen the movie once and this is on some kind of a streaming channel and you just dropped in on this movie, you would have fun in any part of this movie.
there are hundreds of beavers and there's hundreds of jokes. I'll be honest, all of them landed with me. There wasn't a joke where I said, "Oh, this is just stupid, and a waste of my time." What is that? That's 1,000%, 100% batting average. Did you guys say?
Yeah, you just think back. I bet you each think about things like, oh, the fish. Just watching the fish and him trying to get the fish, and the fish not being gotten in various ways. It's a tiny little thing, and I loved everything about that. The wolves. I could just say words. The wolves. Everything with the wolves. Great. The
Ice
trapper.
flows. Ice flows.
The ice flows every night with the trapper.
So-
you just go on and on and on. There's so
Card
many
games.
things.
Card
When
games.
he's trying to catch the fish, and then he tries to set the pole there. The fish takes the pole, and then he sets up the snowman holding the pole, and then he rigs the snowman so it catches the fish, and the other hand like raises its hand like I got one.
And then there were none 10 little Indians aesthetic of how they treat dogs in this movie.
Yep.
Oh, and then anytime the raccoons eat the rabbit, all that's left is a shoe with the bones sticking out of it.
Yes.
By the way, is that a spoiler? That's not a spoiler because there's
How do you spoil this?
no,
It's impossible.
there's just too many jokes. So the big spoiler is it will be a spoiling kind of season. I think if you don't watch this, you have to watch Hundreds of Beavers. Even if you don't love it as much as we do, I think bottom line, you can tip that proverbial hat to the effort involved into this, in my opinion, our opinion, cinematic masterpiece. So that's Hundreds of Beavers. Moving forward, that's it, right? We all done with Hundreds of Beavers? We could talk about 2 hours. I know that, but yeah, Eric.
Yeah, I'm not done with it, but I suppose we're done talking about it for this moment, and then probably this will probably be like a movie that gets brought up a lot. Like, we'd see some other crazy movie and be like blah blah blah, kind of like Hundreds of Beavers when they this is going to be that kind of movie. I'm pretty sure.
I'm so excited for the future behind the cast and crew of Hundreds of Beavers. I haven't seen their previous work, but I think this will put them just on a great direction as far as creatively.